Hey everyone, hope everyone's having a wonderful day today. My name is Wykit and I'm a 23-year-old who loves talking about money. So let's talk about money. I've gotten some really great feedback about my other videos that I made in the past. And one thing that always comes up is someone asks, hey Wykit, you're talking about money. Shouldn't you at least look the part? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. That's why today I am. Yep. All right. So, with that being said, today we're going to talk about the IRA, the Individual Retirement Account. It, along with the 401k, are one of the most common retirement plans in America. So, last video I talked about the 401k, and today I'm talking about the IRA. The biggest difference between the 401k and the IRA, well, there are a lot of differences. So, a difference is that the IRA, it's not employer sponsored. So you can go to Vanguard, you can go to Fidelity, you can go to other places where you can start your own IRA and you can put money into it and you can start putting money in different things you want to put in, index funds, mutual funds. You have a lot more flexibility compared to your 401k. In your 401k, you do have selection, but they're limited to what your employer says or what the holding company has. So you have much more flexibility in your IRA. The IRA also, you have less of a contribution limit, of $6,000 compared to $19,500 in your 401k. And for the IRA, there still is penalty for withdrawing before age 59 and a half because it is meant to be a traditional account. And like the 401k, there are two options. There's the traditional IRA and the Roth IRA. And today we'll be talking about both of them. The traditional IRA, like the traditional 401k, is tax deferred. Tax deferred means you save taxes now, but when you take out the money in the future, you have to pay taxes on it. And in this example, so very, very oversimplified example, if I were to put in $5,000 into a traditional 401k, let's say I'm at an average of 30% tax bracket that year, then I save 30% of that $5,000, which means I save $1,500. And that's $1,500 that I get to keep that year. Now, let's say this $5,000 grows to $50,000 in the future. If I take out that $50,000, assuming I'm at the same 30% tax bracket, I'll be paying $15,000 in taxes. So just like the 401k, do people want to pay tax on the seed or tax on the crop? The crop, when you pay tax on the crop is going to be a lot bigger, so you pay a lot more in taxes. And that's assuming, so $15,000 that you pay in taxes in this example is if your taxes stay the same. What if your taxes double? Then you have to pay $30,000 in taxes on your $50,000 withdrawal from your IRA. So we have no idea what taxes are going to be. And this is in my 401k video, I talk about that as well. I use a similar example that we're in a historically low tax bracket. We have no idea what taxes are going to be like in the future. And when we put our money into traditional 401k, yes, we save money now, but we'll probably have to pay more in the future. And when we pay more in the future, it also depends on what our tax bracket is in the future. It might be higher, number one, because of higher taxes. Even if taxes are the same, that you'll be pushed into a higher tax bracket in the future. You might be pushed up into a higher tax bracket in the future because your traditional 401k, your traditional IRA, your Social Security, if you have like rental income, other brokerages, they're all taxable. So that pushes you into a higher tax rate, a tax bracket, and you also don't have the deductions you have when you're young. You don't have a home mortgage, student loan interest, you don't have the children exemption. So the traditional IRA is really a tool. I would say if someone were to make a bunch of money for a certain year, maybe they're self-employed or they got some money and they're trying to save money on their taxes because they're in a very high tax bracket that year, then it might be worth it for them to max out their traditional 401k. I don't see any other situation where it would be useful to put in traditional IRA except for that one. I might be wrong. I'm not a financial professional. Do your own advice. Do your own advice. Do your own research. This is not investment advice. There you go. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's the traditional 401k, very similar to a traditional 401k. I elaborate on the the traditional 401k, well, I elaborate on the 401k in a previous video, which is up here somewhere. If you want to take a look at that, please feel free to take a look at that. And that's the traditional IRA. So next we have the Roth IRA. So Roth IRA, that's where all the hype is. The Roth IRA is awesome because you put in after-tax money now, and when it comes time to take out money in the future, you don't have to pay taxes on it. Right? You can put in however much money now, it grows and grows and grows. It's all tax-free when you take it out in retirement. So the Roth IRA, the additional benefit of it is it's more liquid than other retirement accounts. Liquid meaning you can pull out money. So the IRA, once you open an IRA for 5 years, you can take out any money you contributed to it, tax-free, penalty-free. Only the contributions. You can't take out the earnings unless, so earnings means like you put in a certain amount of money into the Roth IRA. If that money makes a certain amount more money, then you can't take that more money out, those earnings out, unless you have a qualified distribution or you're 59 and a half. Because if you take it out, you have taxes and penalties. But that gives a lot of liquidity, just because if you put in $10,000 over the course of 3-4 years into your Roth IRA, you can pull out the $10,000 after the IRA has been open for 5 years, which is fantastic. It just gives you opportunity to do things if you need to. Earlier this year, when I put down the $20,000 deposit from my parents' home in Hawaii, I put a couple $1,000s from my IRA. Fantastic, no problem. It was from my Roth IRA specifically. So it's very great to start because you start at a young age. You don't make that much money when you're young, and you're ideally in a low tax bracket. So you put in money into your IRA, your Roth IRA now. It grows, it grows, it grows. You take it out tax free. So the next question people might ask is, what would you want to put into an IRA, either the traditional or the Roth IRA? So there's a lot of things you can do, right? It's just like any investing, you can do your own research, you can figure that out yourself. For the purpose of just answering that question, this is what I do. I don't follow this to a T, but this is a very good general guideline. It's called a 3-fund portfolio. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So this is a 3-fund portfolio. And if you Google it, it comes up. Just Google it, Wikipedia 3-fund portfolio. It basically gives you coverage for everything really everything in the world. So for example, in Vanguard, right, total stock market index, which is the US, total international stock market, the world, and then total bond market. So it gives you exposure to everything and diversify. You decrease your risk. And that's just a suggestion. There are literally hundreds of mutual funds, of index funds that you can invest in. And this is just an example of what you could do. For people who are starting out, who don't know what they want to invest in, here's something to follow. So that's the end of this video. There's not much to say about the IRA. It's very similar to the 401k, which you can see here. The biggest difference are that your 401k is employer sponsored. Your IRA, you can just go open it up. The IRA, you can only put in up to $6,000 compared to $19,500 in your 401k. The IRA, you have a lot more flexibility, especially the Roth, you have flexibility to take money out of it if you need to, but you can only take out your contributions. And one more thing about the IRA is you can only put in earned income into it. So if you get $5,000 from your parents for graduation or whatever, you can't put into the IRA because you have to be paid that. You have to work for it. So it has to be earned income. With that being said, the Roth IRA is a fantastic tool. I recommend anybody who's in their 20s or even younger than the 20s to start their own IRA and put money in it and then watch it grow. And then when they take it out, it's tax-free. So I love my IRA, and I have contributed up to recently when I found, and I've stopped contributing to it because I found a better alternative. And that better alternative is cash value life insurance, which I'll share about in my next video. So cash value life insurance is not something that a lot of people consider for a retirement vehicle, which is why I want to talk about it. With that being said, thank you everybody for listening to this video today. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye.